in there, and I plug straight into the head, and I get the vibe, arm hairs move. I like to feel it.
What would you do if you looked up from your $10,000 custom shop Strat, mid-show-off solo, and realized the quiet guy you just talked down to was Eddie Van Halen? No entourage, no spotlight, just jeans, a black tee, and a baseball cap. One random Saturday at Guitar Center in Hollywood, and nobody had a clue a rock icon was standing in the crowd until he picked up the guitar. What happened next only took 3 minutes, but it turned a cocky demo into a masterclass and left an entire store in absolute shock. This isn't just a guitar story. It's a lesson about ego, humility, and what real greatness sounds like when it doesn't need to announce itself. Eddie Van Halen strolled into Guitar Center in Hollywood one random Saturday, just cruising through like it was no big deal, no bodyguards, no spotlight, just one of the greatest guitarists ever, blending in with the weekend crowd. Over near the high-end section, people had packed in shoulder to shoulder, watching some session guitarist go off on a shiny $10,000 custom shop Stratocaster. The guy was tearing through flashy licks, fingers moving at lightning speed, clearly showing off for anyone watching. Then he spotted Eddie nearby and decided to talk big. He raised his voice so everyone could hear, saying, "This guitar is a $10,000 custom shop instrument. It's too advanced for casual players. You need professional hands to really understand what it can do." He said it like he was educating rookies, not realizing who he was talking to. Eddie just nodded, staying calm, and asked, "Can I try it when you're done?" No ego, no drama, just cool confidence. The guitarist, his name tag said Derek, gave Eddie a quick look up and down. Jeans, plain black tee, no flash. Just an ordinary middle-aged guy, or so he thought. Derek smirked and said, "Sure, but be careful. This isn't a beginner's guitar. Don't break it trying to play stuff you saw on YouTube." The crowd laughed under their breath. Eddie grinned and said, "I'll be gentle." That grin, it was pure rock legend energy. Nobody in that room knew what was about to go down. What happened over the next 3 minutes became one of the most talked about Guitar Center stories in Hollywood history. It was June 2008, and even though Eddie was world famous, he loved staying grounded, walking into stores, testing out amps, feeling guitars with his own hands. He didn't rely on roadies or fancy setups. He liked to hear the raw tone for himself. That day, he rolled solo. No security, no entourage, just him in jeans, a cap, and a plain tee. Most folks didn't even glance twice. To them, he looked like a regular dude who loved guitars. Nobody realized a literal icon was standing among them. That made what happened next even wilder. Eddie wandered into the custom shop area where rows of Fenders and Gibsons gleamed like trophies behind glass. Then he spotted the crowd. Up front was Derek, clean-cut, perfectly styled hair, and that "I'm the expert here" energy. He was mid-performance, shredding through jazz fusion runs, his hands moving with surgical precision. The guy could clearly play, but there was something missing. It was technical, sure, but there was no soul, no swing, just flash. Still, the audience looked hyped. "This is the Custom Shop 63 Reshoe," Derek announced proudly, holding up the sunburst Strat like a prized jewel. Hand-wound pickups, nitrocellulose finish, vintage specs all around. "This beauty runs 10 grand, and trust me, you feel the difference. This guitar responds to real professional touch." He said it like he was guarding some secret treasure. Eddie just stood there, quiet, hands in his pockets, watching every move. He wasn't there to show off, and not yet. But when Derek finished and reluctantly handed him that $10,000 Strat, the whole vibe in the room was about to change. Big time. Eddie stood there listening close, really close. The tone had punch, the sound had bite. Derek could definitely play. His fingers were quick, his runs clean, his tone tight. But Eddie's focus wasn't on the flash. His eyes locked on that Strat like he was reading its soul. Every little vibration, every resonance, he was analyzing it all like a scientist who lived music. Derek spotted him at the edge of the crowd and called out, "You interested in this one?" "It's beautiful," Eddie said, calm and sincere. "Great tone." "It should be for 10 grand, Derek laughed, shaking his head. "This is a professional instrument, not for everyone. But if you know what you're doing, it's insane." He ripped through another lightning-fast run, fingers sprinting up the fretboard like he was trying to set a record. The crowd let out little gasps and nods, impressed, but not exactly blown away. Eddie waited until the last note faded and asked again, quiet but confident, "Can I try it when you're done?" That's when Derek finally took a real look at him. Plain jeans, black tee, baseball cap. Just a chill middle-aged guy with calm eyes. Not flashy, not trying to stand out. Derek clearly thought this dude wasn't his usual kind of customer. His smile went polite, but his tone carried that same hint of condescension. "Sure," he said, "but fair warning. This guitar's advanced. The setup's tight, action's low, pickups are hot. It takes pro-level touch to make it sing." He said it like he was reading a manual. "I understand," Eddie replied, steady as ever, no ego in sight. "And please," Derek added, still talking like he was briefing a rookie, "be careful. It's a $10,000 instrument and I'm responsible for it. So maybe skip the wild moves, yeah? No YouTube covers gone wrong. Just keep it gentle." He hovered over that guitar like it was made of diamonds. Eddie gave a small smile, the kind that said he'd heard this sort of talk 100 times, and simply repeated, "I'll be gentle." His tone was so calm it almost threw Derek off balance. Derek ended his demo with a dramatic pentatonic sprint and a bent note that hung in the air like a victory flag. The crowd gave polite applause, the kind you give when you're not sure what else to do. Derek unstrapped the Strat carefully and handed it over, still talking like he was giving away a relic. "Here you go. Take your time, but remember, easy does it. This baby's delicate." His warning hung heavy in the air, but Eddie just nodded. He slipped the strap over his shoulder and adjusted it till it sat just right. One quick check of the tuning, perfect. Credit where it was due, Derek kept it locked in. A few people started to wander off, assuming the show was over, but a handful stayed behind, curious. Something about Eddie's calm confidence made them pause. Derek stood back, arms crossed tight, watching like a guard over the crown jewels. Eddie strummed a few light chords first, smooth, warm, clean. The guitar responded instantly. You could see him feeling it out, testing its range. The pickups screamed in all the right ways. The neck was slick as silk. Then, without saying a word, Eddie shifted his stance, locked in, and started to play. Eddie didn't ease into it. He launched straight into the opening of Eruption, the solo that flipped rock music upside down back in 1978. The sound hit like a shockwave. His right hand shot over the fretboard, tapping those high notes, while his left hand hammered and pulled off below, crafting that cascading waterfall of sound every guitarist on earth recognizes instantly. The room practically stopped breathing. Derek's expression morphed in real time. First confusion, then disbelief, then flat-out shock. Within seconds, his jaw just dropped. People who'd been wandering away froze mid-step like statues. Somebody fumbled their pick and let it clatter to the floor. A kid testing out a bass actually set it down, still plugged in, and sprinted toward the noise. Heads started turning all across the store. The drum kits went silent. The keyboard section froze. Even customers at checkout were craning their necks to see what was going down. Eddie kept playing, smooth, focused, unstoppable. Every tap, every slide, every harmonic came out like lightning. He wasn't just performing Eruption, he was becoming it. His fingers danced across the fretboard with supernatural ease, the kind of motion that comes only from a man who built the very thing everyone else was trying to imitate. He flowed straight from the tapping section into rapid-fire tremolo picking, each note popping like sparks from a live wire. The Strat screamed through the amp, howling with that clean, controlled chaos only Eddie could summon. His right hand blurred. His left hand worked the whammy bar, pulling those deep, swooping dives that once redefined what rock guitar could even be. Then came the moment. From deep in the crowd, someone gasped, loud and trembling. "Oh my God! Oh my God! That's Eddie Van Halen!" The words hit like an electric current. Every head snapped toward the man holding the Strat. Derek went pale, then red, like his brain couldn't keep up with what his eyes were seeing. He glanced at the amp, at Eddie, then at the crowd, searching for someone to tell him this wasn't real. But it was very real. Eddie transitioned smoothly into the solo from "Ain't Talkin' 'Bout Love," bending those notes slow and sweet, every pitch dripping with soul. No flash, no filler, just pure feeling. 4 notes from Eddie hit harder than 1,000 from anyone else. You could feel the emotion slicing through the air. The small crowd had turned into a full-blown scene. At least 40 people packed in tight, phones raised, jaws hanging open. Store staff had abandoned their posts entirely. The drum tech, the keyboard rep, even the cashier, all frozen in awe. The store manager came sprinting out from the back, eyes wide, face caught between total panic and wild excitement. You could almost read his mind. What do you even do when Eddie Van Halen just walks in and takes over your store? In the mix, a teenage guitarist stood frozen, tears streaming down his face, watching his idol play 10 feet away. An older guy in the back kept whispering, "No way, no way," over and over, shaking his head like he was witnessing a dream unfold. And Derek, the once cocky demo guy, still stood there with his arms half-crossed, but now his body looked stiff, locked, like a mannequin that forgot how to move. Eddie played for maybe 3 minutes, though to everyone watching it felt like time had stopped. Then, with that classic precision, he ripped one last bend so sharp it made the air vibrate, held the note till it sang, and let it fade into pure silence. Half a second of stillness, and then boom! The store erupted. Applause, cheers, people screaming like they'd just seen history happen right in front of them. Phones shot up higher, flashes went off, shouts filled the air. "You're right," Eddie said casually with that calm, easy smile. "It's a solid guitar, really responsive. The pickups are balanced perfectly." His voice was chill, no ego at all, just genuine appreciation. Derek took the Strat back with both hands, shaking like he'd just touched lightning. His voice cracked as he stammered, You're Eddie Van Halen." Eddie nodded, still smiling. "I am." Derek blinked like his brain was buffering. "I just told Eddie Van Halen not to play stuff he saw on YouTube," he said, almost whispering. "I told you to be gentle with the guitar because it was too advanced. I said it takes professional hands." His voice was half disbelief, half pure embarrassment. Eddie chuckled lightly and said, "You were doing your job. You didn't know who I was. You were protecting an expensive guitar from a random customer. That's the responsible thing to do." His tone was so kind it made the whole crowd melt. "But I was so condescending," Derek said, shaking his head. "I literally said it was too advanced for casual players. To you, Eddie Van Halen." His words came out like confessions. The crowd cracked up, phones still recording, people giggling and whispering things like, "This is unreal," and "No way that just happened." Everyone knew they were witnessing a once-in-a-lifetime moment. Eddie shrugged with a grin. "To be fair, I'm a casual player. I just casually stopped by to check out some guitars. The crowd burst into laughter, the tension breaking completely. "You weren't wrong about the guitar, though," he added. "It's really responsive, plays beautifully, and your demo was good." Derek just blinked again, muttering under his breath. "I demonstrated a Stratocaster to Eddie Van Halen. I tried to show off techniques that he invented." His voice cracked on the last word, disbelief still all over his face. Then the store manager finally fought his way through the crowd, looking equal parts thrilled and terrified. "Mr. Van Halen, wow. This is an incredible honor," he blurted out. "Can we get you anything? Want to try another guitar? Maybe some coffee, water? Anything you'd like?" Eddie gave him that same cool smile. "I'm fine, thank you," he said smoothly. "I was just browsing. Derek here gave a really good demonstration. Very professional." Derek looked like he didn't know whether to smile or faint. Then Eddie turned to him again, eyes kind but sharp. The kind of look only a true master gives when he's about to drop real wisdom. "Can I give you some advice? Not about playing, you've got that down, but about demonstrating guitars." Derek nodded fast, still gripping that $10,000 Strat like it might vanish if he blinked. "Please," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "When you demonstrate a guitar," Eddie said slowly, "don't just show off technique. Show off the personality of the instrument. Every guitar's got its own voice, its own mood. This Strat, for example, it's bright, articulate, super responsive. It's got clarity and snap, that's its soul. When you demo it, highlight that, not just your speed or skill." Then Eddie reached out gently and Derek instinctively handed the guitar back. Eddie adjusted the strap and played a simple melody. Nothing wild, no flash, no chaos. Just a few slow, meaningful notes. He bent each one slightly different, letting them breathe, giving the sound space to shimmer. Then he rolled the volume knob with soft precision, coaxing gentle swells that rose and faded like waves. The crowd went dead silent. You could hear the emotion in every tone. "See," Eddie said, his tone calm but full of conviction. "That's what this guitar does well. It's articulate, it's expressive. You can hear every tiny detail. That's what makes a $10,000 guitar special. Not the speed, not the flash, the voice." His words carried weight, everyone landing heavy in the quiet room. The whole store had gone dead silent. Nobody dared move, breathe, or even blink. It wasn't just a demonstration anymore. It was a lesson, straight from one of the greatest ever to touch a six-string. Eddie handed the Strat back carefully and said, "You're a good player. Just remember, when you're showing someone a guitar, you're introducing them to the instrument, not auditioning for a gig." His tone was soft, but it hit with the force of truth. Derek looked completely transformed, like he had just been handed front-row access to the most exclusive masterclass in the world. "Thank you, Mr. Van Halen," he said, voice trembling. "And I'm so sorry for how I talked to you earlier." Eddie waved it off with that same warm smile. "Don't be sorry. You didn't know. You were doing your job, protecting an expensive guitar, trying to keep things under control. That's good. The only real mistake was assuming someone's skill by how they look. But that's a lesson everyone learns at some point." That last line hit the room like a chord ringing through a cathedral. Deep, clear, unforgettable. You could feel the meaning settle over everyone there. Eddie started heading for the exit, but the moment wasn't letting him go that easy. The crowd surged forward. People wanted pictures, autographs, anything to hold on to a slice of that experience. And Eddie, being pure class, as always, stayed for nearly 20 minutes, signing guitars, shaking hands, dropping bits of advice to young players, all while keeping his humble, easygoing vibe. Just as he was about to leave, Derek came up again, still looking overwhelmed, but now more inspired than embarrassed. Before he could speak, Eddie spotted a nearby guitar student struggling with finger positioning during a small in-store clinic that had restarted at the far end of the shop. Without making a scene, he walked over and gently crouched beside the young player. "You're focusing too much on your hand position," Eddie said softly. "Try relaxing it. Don't worry about perfect angles. Worry about the sound." The student adjusted and tried again. This time the tone shifted instantly. Smoother, warmer, alive. You could hear the difference right away, and so could everyone else. Eddie nodded, smiling. "See? Technique should serve the music. The music doesn't serve the technique. Mr. Vance was right that there are efficient ways to play, but efficiency isn't the goal. Music is the goal." That line hung in the air like lightning, quiet but electric. The students all froze, taking in every word like gospel. And then, without even meaning to, Eddie ended up taking over the whole class. No titles, no plan, just pure wisdom and instinct. He broke down how tapping could be expressive, not just flashy. He showed how bending wrong could make a note sing in ways theory books never teach. He even demonstrated how mistakes sometimes lead to new sounds no one's ever heard before. "Listen first, play second," he kept saying. Over and over. That was the mantra. When the class wrapped up, the energy in the room was buzzing like a live wire. Students surrounded Eddie in seconds, firing off questions, snapping photos, thanking him for what just turned into the most unforgettable accidental masterclass ever. The vibe was electric. Every single person in that room knew they'd just witnessed something special. Finally, Marcus, the substitute instructor, stepped forward, his confidence gone, replaced by pure humility. "Mr. Van Halen," he started carefully, "I owe you an apology. What I said earlier about you needing formal training, that was arrogant and honestly pretty stupid." His voice cracked with honesty. Eddie smiled, no anger in sight. "You didn't know who I was," he said calmly. "You were teaching what you believed in. That's fine. The issue isn't that you challenged me. It's that you told the class there's only one right way. That kind of thinking shuts down creativity. It stops people from exploring." Marcus nodded slowly, his head dropping. "I just thought I was helping them avoid mistakes." Eddie's reply came quick but gentle. "Mistakes are how you learn. Some of my best discoveries came from doing things wrong and realizing I liked the sound. If I'd been trained to play everything correctly, I would have missed the stuff that made my sound mine." His words hit like truth bombs, powerful, simple, and unforgettable. Then Eddie turned to the students. "All right, quick question," he said, scanning the room. "How many of you are here because you want to sound exactly like someone else?" The room went silent. Not one hand went up. "Exactly," Eddie said with a grin. "You're here because you want to find your own voice. Mr. Vance's way would make you all great players, technically perfect, but you'd all sound the same. Don't be afraid to mess up. Don't be afraid to break rules if what you hear feels right to you." That message landed hard. You could feel it ripple through the class, the kind of moment that sticks with a musician forever. When Eddie finally left, the students were still buzzing, talking over each other. Eyes lit up like they'd just seen their future in real time. Marcus stood in front of them, trying to gather his thoughts. Then one brave student spoke up, hesitant but curious. "So, is there really only one correct technique?" Marcus took a long breath, then said quietly, "No. Eddie Van Halen's right. I've been teaching rules like they're laws, and they're not. They're just guidelines. I let structure kill creativity. I'm sorry for that." His voice was humble, honest, and everyone could tell he meant it. That moment changed him. Within days, the story spread through the Musicians Institute like wildfire. The tale of the substitute teacher who told Eddie Van Halen he needed proper training became instant campus legend. People whispered about it in hallways, laughed about it in practice rooms, and the story even hit the faculty lounge. But here's the twist. Marcus didn't hide from it. He owned it. He grew from it. He revamped his whole teaching style, less about robotic precision, more about creative freedom. He encouraged mistakes, exploration, feeling. He started saying, "Play to express, not impress." The students loved it. His classes filled up fast, not because he was perfect, but because he'd been humbled and inspired by the best. A week later, Dave Matthews returned to campus and was immediately surrounded by students eager to tell him the story. One of them said, "Eddie Van Halen showed up during your subs class, and it turned into a master lesson." Dave blinked. "Wait, Eddie sat in on my class?"
They nodded, laughing. And the sub told him he could have been better with proper training.
Dave nearly dropped his coffee. He grabbed his phone right away and called Eddie, still chuckling as soon as his friend picked up. "You visited one class I wasn't even teaching, and you still managed to cause chaos." Eddie laughed. "Hey, I was just sitting there. The substitute challenged me." Dave couldn't stop laughing. The substitute told Eddie Van Halen he could have been better with formal training. "That's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. I can't believe I missed it." Eddie just grinned through the phone. "Next time, you should really pick your substitutes more carefully." Years later, when Eddie passed away in 2020, Marcus shared a tribute that hit deep, the kind of message that stops you in your tracks. He wrote, "In 2009, I told Eddie Van Halen he could have been better with proper training. He could have put me in my place, but instead, he walked into my class and taught it better than I ever could. He showed my students that creativity matters more than rules, and he made me a better teacher in the process. I learned more from Eddie in 20 minutes than I did in years of formal education. Rest in peace to the master who never stopped being a student." That post spread like wildfire. Musicians, fans, and teachers everywhere shared it, because it summed up everything that made Eddie so legendary. Not just his insane talent, but his humility, his curiosity, and that fearless creative spirit that inspired millions. Even now, that story still gives people chills. It's a reminder that true greatness isn't about perfection. It's about passion, curiosity, and never being afraid to do things your way. If this story inspired you, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more untold music stories that hit just like this one. And here's a question for you. Have you ever learned more from breaking the rules than following them? Let's hear your story in the comments. See you in the next video.